Welcome back, friends. Once again, we'd like to thank you for giving us your precious time in order to listen to the show. Also, keep sending us questions so that we can keep answering them with our amazing, flawless execution. And then also remember to keep sending us your feedback because we want what you want, a better show. Recording in progress.
That's what I said the last time I was in a threesome. Recording in progress.
Oh man, I don't tell them. I just record. They don't even know what's happening.
Hey, I usually charge them. It's
No.
extra for the DVD.
Yeah. I mean, but you've already paid to be with them, so it's sort of like free, I guess.
No. I charge them so I don't release it to the social media.
Oh, I thought you billed them.
How
How you
all
been?
right, man. Good, man. Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody, to Answers for Everything.
Welcome back, Knowitalls. Answers for
That's
everything.
right.
New episode. Got like
Yeah.
about a month off, I think. Couple weeks anyway.
Yeah, it's a good month, but you've got a good reason for it that you'll go into here in a bit. But what are we going to talk about today, Clay?
We're gonna talk since I just did a whole bunch of airline travel.
Right.
So because I did a whole bunch of airline travel, I noticed a bunch of things different between Canada and the rest of the world when it comes to airline travel. And I don't know how things are in the States. I know you traveled a bit during COVID and you traveled a lot before COVID. And I don't know what your mask situation is currently in the States. What did you experience during, and do you know what's going on right now?
All right. Well, I'll make it pretty brief. And since COVID hit in the spring of 2020, I've flown by plane 3 times. Once was in September of 2020, and that was full blown mask, full blown everybody's freaking out time. Disinfecting this, disinfecting that, no problems. Flew down there, came back, no issues. Had a great time when I was down in Augusta, Georgia for Joe Fest. Second time I flew was it was either June or July. It was June. It was the third week of June in 2021. Also went back down to Augusta, Georgia for Joe Fest. Also had to wear a mask at that time. Even though people had started taking the jab, and but the mask mandates were still in effect, especially on the planes. That time when I came back, I did unfortunately come back and I had COVID. So I don't know if it was on the plane or, being around a bunch of people at the convention, but that was a rough month. And we've talked about that before. And then last time I went, I went to Houston here in April of 2022 for the Hell's Heroes Metal Festival. We did not have to wear, what did we have to wear? I'm having a problem trying to remember. You know what? I think we still did have to wear the masks on the plane and in the airport. We did. So we still were wearing them, but everywhere else, like I've gone to, pretty much no mask. Like concert venues, I'm in there. And again, of course, I came back from Houston and I got COVID for a second time. Only this time it was relatively minor, even though I took off work to, I had to for quarantine purposes, but it wasn't really anything. I had like a couple of days of being sick to the point of, being a little bit out of it, but that was it. And then I was just back to normal and no long-term effects. But as far as masks go, yeah, the planes are still doing it. At least they were in the springtime. I don't know.
Like mandatory doing it, or it's
Well, wait, you know what?
prefer?
Hold on a second. I forgot. It was going to be mandatory. And the week before I flew, they lifted the mandate on the plane. So you know what? I didn't have to wear a mask on the plane. I don't think so this last time. And then, I don't think you have to now in the States. But I haven't left the United States. I've just flown domestically. And of course, everywhere, in the United States, at least where I'm at in the Midwest, you don't have to wear a mask. There's still a few people here and there. I'd say probably 1 or 2% of the population. It's kind of surprises me when I do see somebody still wearing a mask at this point.
Yep.
That's how many people are not wearing masks, which is the high percentage of everybody. It's just mostly I see some older people with masks on, and then occasionally somebody younger, and that's even super occasionally compared to the occasionally the old people that I see. So for the most part, it's like it never existed here at this point. Although, of course, they're all freaking out and warning us of a potential winter pandemic and twindemic, and that we might have flu and COVID at the same time. And I'm like, nah, well, where was flu when COVID was hitting the last 2 years? Apparently, you told us flu just disappeared, but now it's going to come back and be here at the same time. So, who knows? But basically, at this point, I'd say it's still a hassle. Flying's just a hassle, period, nowadays. And but nothing compares to how it was when I flew to Europe. This is long before the pandemic issue. This was just over, run of the mill, things like people blowing up stuff.
Yeah, well, no big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, because I flew to Europe in like I don't know if it was my last time was like 2010 or whatever. And when I flew to Europe, everything was cool. And then there was like the shoe bomber guy. And
Yeah.
then flying back from Europe, I thought I was gonna have to like be like butt searched like 3 different times before I could get on the plane. It was like, you're like, oh, you went through security, and then they had somebody just like, oh, just in the middle of your walking down to the plane, there's another security person just doing random checks. I mean, they were just freaking out. So that was pretty intense too.
I try and get the butt searches. I try and ask for them, even from random strangers walking through the airport. It's like, I think I might have something up there. Do you mind taking a look? And they've asked me just to stop going to the airport. I mean, I don't even have a flight to catch, I'm just walking around pre-security asking for people to do butt searches on me.
There's a couple of neighborhoods I could recommend you to if you ever come down here. You can probably get those for free.
Oh, excellent. I'm in. When it comes to masks in Canada, it doesn't matter if it's international or domestic travel. If you're on a Canadian airline, you're wearing your mask, and that's just the way it is. Until you're eating or drinking, you can lower your mask to eat or drink,
and then raise it back up, right?
Yeah, it kind of boggles my mind. I saw this TikTok of this girl. She's like, little does Air Canada know, but I just bought 1,000 gummy bears that I'm going to eat one at a time over my 6-hour flight. So she literally had her mask off for her whole flight and just like one gummy bear, chewed it, one gummy bear, chewed it. So she just ate gummy bears the whole fucking flight, and they couldn't do anything about it because she was eating.
Right.
Fucking hilarious, right? Anyway, you land, like I landed in Edinburgh, Scotland. And I took my mask off, and there's no mask mandate at the airport. Nobody's wearing masks. And then I get onto train, nobody's wearing masks. I get on a trams, I get into like public places, and nobody's wearing masks. And there's signs on all the trains and the stuff that say, oh, keep your distance, like stay 2 meters apart or 2 feet apart or whatever it was. I'm like, there's like 60 of us piled onto a 40-seater bus. These rules
2 meters apart. Yeah.
Yeah, these rules don't exist. These people don't give a shit. And then I flew in Scotland to Ireland, and there's not even rules inside the airport. There's no rules on the plane. It's like it just doesn't exist. But as soon as I start checking into my WestJet flight to fly home, they're checking my vaccine status. They're checking my Arrive Canada app. They're making sure I'm wearing a mask. I'm wearing a mask when I'm putting my bags on the conveyor. Like when I'm at the desk, I'm like, why do I have to wear a mask in here? Nobody else is wearing a mask. They're like, well, this is WestJet. You have to wear a mask. I'm like, I'm not even on the plane yet. Like I'm not even through security yet. I'm just checking into the WestJet gate area. It's so fucked up, super fucked up. But that's neither here nor there, because what I really wanted to talk about was the site I saw at the Dublin airport. And I've spent
the what you saw?
The site that I saw
at
the Dublin airport.
Okay.
So, we were leaving Glasgow, Scotland, and I saw them. It's one of the planes where you have to walk outside and you go up like the back stairs onto the plane. So a little tiny propeller plane. And I saw them throw my bag underneath, like on the plane. I was like, nice, perfect. And then I saw the guy wheel his little wheelie cart to the other side of the plane and put the person I was traveling with, her bag, on the airplane. And I was like, nice, we're going to get our luggage. Fantastic. Because they lost our luggage going over to Europe. Long story short, yeah, they lost my luggage. I got it back. Now I'm getting on another plane. And then we land in Ireland, and there's about 20 of us around the little, I don't know what you call it, the conveyor, where the carousel.
Oh, carousel, yeah.
And people are grabbing their bags, and then all of a sudden the carousel stops, and there's a bunch of bags left on it. And there's about 20 of us standing around thinking like, well, we all got off the same plane and none of us have our luggage. So we talked to one of the Aer Lingus people, and they said to start filling out a form, like this digital form to, claim your lost luggage. And then they said, "Oh, your plane has there's another train outside, like a tram with luggage on it that they're unloading from the tarmac. So your bags will be on the next one when it turns on." So we're waiting, we're waiting. The carousel turns on, bags start coming through. One person from our group grabs her bag and takes off. And then we all of a sudden hear one of the other people say, "My bag's over here," like on a different carousel. So somebody in our group picked her bag up like two carousels down. So we all rush over there, and then all of a sudden, nobody else found their bags. And then I was like, well, I mean, if it's on that one, why can't it be on one of the other 10 carousels? So I start walking through the carousels, and what I noticed is that none of them were turned on. And there was like, I don't know, probably 30 bags on each carousel just left there with nobody around to pick up luggage. And one of the Aer Lingus employees had a trolley, and he was loading up bags from the turned off carousels. And I followed him thinking like, well, if he's going to like a luggage room, maybe my luggage is there because it went on one of those carousels and I didn't pick it up. So I follow him and he just like dumps it off into a corner, like, I don't know, 8 to 10 bags onto like another 30 or 40 bags. And then somebody else shows up and dumps more, and somebody else shows up. And I was like, so what are you guys doing? They're like, well, we're dumping the bags over here so they can get entered into the tracking system. And I was like, well, how do you keep track of all this? There's like 30 bags here. They're like, this is only one corner of the airport. Go check the other ones. Your bag could be there. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because, my bag comes off the carousel. I pick it up, I leave. I don't go to a corner of the airport and hope to God I find my bag in a pile of bags, right?
Apparently you do there.
Yeah. And then I went to one of the corners and I just started counting, and I stopped counting at about 300 bags just piled into the corner. And there's two girls sitting at these computers right by these bags, and they're like pulling a bag, they enter a number, and they slide the bag off into another corner. And I asked what they were doing, and they said, we're manually entering all the bag tags into our tracking system. And I was like, there's like 300 bags here. And she's like, there's over 7,000 bags a day getting lost at the Dublin airport. I'm like, what do you mean getting lost?
A day. You know how many bags you have to process an hour? One person?
What the fuck does that mean? Getting lost? Like, I don't understand. She goes, no, take a look. And she grabs a bag, and it had like ORD or MCO, whatever. It was an airport in the States. She goes, this left Italy and should have ended up in Florida. It didn't go to Florida. It ended up here. Like, how the fuck does that happen? And she's like, do you really want to know how it's happening? I was like, I do want to know how it's happening because I want my fucking bag. And she's like, well, here's what's happening is you need special security clearance in order to work on the tarmac. And to get that security clearance, once you apply for the job, it takes between 30 and 40 days. Nobody can wait 30 to 40 days for the clearance approval before they need to accept another job. So they usually end up getting another job in that time. So by the time we call them to tell them they've gotten the job, they're like, I already have another job. So then we have to interview more people to hire. I was like, why don't you just interview like 100 people instead of like 3? That way, you play the numbers. Maybe you'll get 20, right, that are approved that haven't found other jobs. I was like, well, what does that have to do with it? And she's like, well, here's the thing is we have less people out there working than we've ever had. So they're working like 16, 17 hours a day. So when they want to take a break, they just take a break. I was like, all right. She goes, what you don't understand is they take their little tram with luggage from a plane. They drive it to another plane so it can get loaded on because it's a connecting flight. If they want to take a break, they just park their little tram and they go inside to the airport and take a break. I go, so the bags are just sitting on a tram? She goes, yeah, but that plane has to leave because it gets fined the later it is. So it doesn't even collect the bags it's supposed to collect because it doesn't want to wait any longer. So they just like bat up the hatches and they fly. So by the time that person gets off their break, the planes that they needed to load those bags on are gone.
He
So
comes back and he's like, oh, where's my cart? No plane.
Yeah. So yeah, then they just bring it in here, and those are the piles of bags you're looking at right now. I go, so you just have nobody working out there to drive it from point A to point B because they're working too hard? She's like, yeah, pretty much. That's it. She goes, this airport's horrible. There's like 7,000 bags a day. I'm losing my fucking mind here thinking like I purposely tried to fly without going through Toronto because I heard there's like 50,000 delayed bags in the Toronto airport. And I was like, I don't want my bags going through Toronto. I don't. I definitely don't. My bags ended up going through Toronto because I got rerouted, and my bags didn't make it to Europe on that same day that I was there. I ended up getting them 2 days later, which is fine. But this is totally different and blew my mind. So I go back to the carousel I'm supposed to be on, and there's 17 of us standing there waiting. So the carousel turns on again, the light comes on, and it starts moving. Bags start coming off. People get their bags. There's more people waiting from a different flight that didn't get their bags. So then a guy comes out. He goes, "Hey, all you people that left Glasgow at 1:15, there's 17 of you. Your bags are not at this airport. Your bags are still in Glasgow." And we're like, why were our bags still in Glasgow? I literally saw the fucker put my bag on the plane.
Right.
Literally watched him grab it and throw it on. Go to the other side, grab it, throw it on. How the fuck does it get on the plane to get off the plane? And he's like, somebody with a mobile scooter had to put the mobile scooter on the plane, and then the weight was too much, so they had to remove bags to match the weight of the scooter, and 17 of your bags got pulled off that matched the weight of the scooter. So one fucking guy, and I know who the fucking guy is. I fucking know, because I was watching him check in with like 5 other family members. He had his scooter. He got off his scooter. His family like folded it up, and like 3 of them lifted it onto like the little conveyor when they tag it, and it went, behind, and then he walked to the gate. So he was on a scooter to check in and then walked to the gate. I was like, the fucker who doesn't need his scooter got his scooter, and 17 of us don't get our bags. Like, so if you think about it, you don't get your bag, they reimburse you like what, 50 euros a day for toiletries and shit for 3 days until they give you your bag, right? So imagine, like, you want to do the math here.
Times 7,000.
17 people times $150, right?
Okay, so it's that's 1,700 plus 850, so 2,550 a day times
150 euros for 3 days, sorry, times 17 people. So the airline's going to pay out $2,500 just for 3 days worth of toiletries and underwear and stuff, right? Because they assumed in the 3 days your bag will be back.
Right. 150 a day for 3 days.
So no, basically 50 euros a day. So $150.
Okay,
150 euros per person for 3 days, because they assume your bag's going to be back within 3 days, right? 72 hours.
Okay.
Say.
Okay.
So they've paid out $2,500 at this point. And now the people who are traveling probably aren't still in Dublin. So now they're going to have to like send couriers to send those bags to wherever the other people are, which I don't know about you, but you pay by weight, and 17 bags to courier anywhere in the world, it's going to be like $300 a person. It's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
So let's say half the people get their bags over 3 days. So you got 8 times even 300, 2,400 plus another 2,500 for the thing. That's $4,900 that the airline had to pay out. You can't tell me they couldn't have rented a scooter for $1,000 for a day.
Right.
Because our bags, in theory, they said your bags are going to be on the next flight tonight, like 9 o'clock tonight. The same flight's flying over. We're going to put your bags on that. And yeah, we checked the airport when we left Ireland, and they said our bags weren't there. They said they were still in Scotland. So we flew to Scotland where we were going. And then when I landed, I was like, hey, they said my bag is at this airport. It hadn't left it in the last week. And they
now
said,
it's in Ireland.
Yeah, they said, oh, let me check. No, your bag's still in Ireland. I was like, so what the fuck is going on? So both airports said the bag was at the other airport.
And so when exactly did you get your bags back?
Oh, that was August 18th. They lost it, and I got my bag 2 days ago, dropped off at work.
Wow. So almost 3 weeks later, 2 weeks later, well, 2 to 3 weeks later.
Yeah, finally got my fucking bag back. Yeah, I can't imagine what it costs to courier it out.
Well, how close is the closest airport to you?
Like 250 kilometers.
Wow. Sure, it was not cheap. Somebody got paid real well to drive that out to you.
Yeah,
probably would have been easier just to put it in a box and ship it to you.
So I want you to think about that. 7,000 bags at the Dublin airport are getting couriered out to places on a daily basis.
How are they affording it?
That's one airport. Well, I mean, they're not paying employees. Obviously, if they had employees, this wouldn't happen. So that's the fucking problem. They don't have employees. So the money they're saving with that, they're just using for couriers. That is
beyond mind-boggling. And again, yet a further example that the end of the world is upon us.
That's one airport, man. One airport, 7,000 bags. Toronto airport, 50,000 bags. Between 2 airports, that's almost 60,000 bags that just don't make it to their destination.
It definitely makes you not want to even try to travel with bags. Just pack enough on a carry-on, and then just bring enough money. If you need to buy something else, just buy it, because you know what? Probably be better smart, Well,
we had that when we were there. They're like, okay, guys, the flight's kind of full today, so we're going to ask you to gate check your bag. So free of charge, we'll check it at the gate. We'll put it like when we're getting on the plane, they'll put a bag tag on it and they're going to put it under the plane. That way, when you land, it's waiting for you right when you walk out the airplane door. You know, where the flight attendants' bags
Yeah.
are, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you are not fucking. This is my last bag I got left on this trip. You're not going to take my last carry on after
Away
you,
from me.
yeah,
Yeah.
after you guys fucked me over for everything else. But it got me thinking, like, it's really weird that the bag we got back is my friend's bag, and she had all her locks, like all her zippers locked, right?
Uh-huh.
And the zippers no longer had locks when we got the bag, so they snapped all the locks off, and there
Uh-huh.
was like this tape around it that said searched by customs, and there was a thing on the inside that said your bag was searched by customs.
Uh-huh.
And I'm thinking, like, why would it be searched by customs? Like, we're not even picking it up, like we're not even flying with it. But then it got me really thinking, like, wait, this is a genius way to smuggle. Obviously, if you were smuggling something from, I don't know, let's pick Thailand, and you were trying to bring it back to Canada, all you do is not pick up your bag. You just don't pick it up. They'll courier it out to you. There could be
Right.
anything in there, but no, they're going to check it. The people have probably smuggled that way, because I could
Uh-huh.
put anything in that bag and just don't pick it up at the airport and then complain that, oh, I didn't get my bag, and they'll courier it out to me. And there
Yeah,
could
but
be
that,
anything I
yeah.
was smuggling, but yeah, obviously customs went through it. So I'm not the first person to think about it. There's actually a protocol. But
Huh.
do you think they go through every one of those bags? Can you imagine customs going through 7,000 bags in Ireland to clear customs before they fucking courier that shit out?
I don't know, Clay. All I know is that the airline industry, if you think about it, we talked about other things that we had talked about before.
Yeah.
How many other examples of incompetence and just complete breakdown of normal working of society are you seeing right now? Because for me, I can't keep track of the list. I mean, everything is just falling apart due to incompetence, not enough workers, in a combination of both. The people that are there not giving two craps about it. And I just feel like just the entire world has just all thrown their hands up and said, whatever.
So you know how airlines oversell their seats, right?
Oh yeah. Oh
Does that
yeah.
make sense to you? Does it make sense to you to oversell and then tell somebody at the gate that they can't get on the plane?
Doesn't make sense to me.
So why would they rather sell that, $500 seat, but then offer you like $1,200 to take the next flight? Like, does that doesn't make any sense?
I don't think so. I mean, they always count on a couple of people not showing up for the flight, which never makes sense to me. I'm like,
Don't they
well,
already
how
don't
would
they
you?
already pay for it though? Like, have these
Yeah,
people not already paid? Like, you're not losing out. They're not going to get their money back because they didn't show up.
right, right. Unless they reschedule. I don't know. I've never understood that. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times. I mean, I don't fly all that much, but I mean, the
Yeah.
times that I've flown, pretty much almost every time I've flown, they've always been like, "Hey, we're offering vouchers if anybody wants to give up a seat." Blah blah blah. At least half
I,
the time.
I've never ever experienced that. I've been bumped from a flight. Like
Me too.
I was flying back from a GI Joe convention, and in Toronto, they're like, all right, so like I got my little ticket that printed up my boarding pass, and it didn't have a seat number on it. And it said, please see like representative at the gate. So I went up
Right.
to see it. I was like, sorry, I don't have a seat. This is really weird. And they're like, oh yeah, we overbooked. So you actually don't have a seat on this flight. If somebody doesn't show up, we can put you on standby and you can get a seat. I was like, okay, help me out here. I paid for a seat, and now you're telling me you oversold the seats. So if somebody doesn't show up, I get a seat, but I've already paid for a seat. Like, why did I get bumped and someone else didn't get bumped? And she's like, well, you used air miles to buy your ticket and you didn't like book through the airline. So because it's an airline air miles ticket, it was essentially free. So we bumped you. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
but it's not free. Air Miles buys tickets from you guys and sells them to me for Air Miles. You know what I mean? You got paid for it.
Right.
It's not like you didn't get paid for it. But yeah, somebody didn't show up and I ended up getting on the plane.
Well, um, I told you about my situation coming back from Houston, where they canceled my flight. I got a notification
Yeah.
they canceled my flight, and funnily enough, I was in the facilities room,
Ah.
at the airport. I just got to the airport, and it was quite a few hours because it was a long story, but I got to I had plenty of time to kill. I was
And
at the airport.
that's during the time where you had to wear masks, right?
No, that was in April of this year. I didn't have to wear one.
Okay.
And so I happened to be on the phone, literally on the phone, when it popped up and said, your flight's been canceled and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, okay, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I sat, for a couple more minutes. I was like, you know what? I am going, because it said, try to look for another flight. I couldn't find another flight. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get on the waiting list, for an earlier flight. Because I actually ended up on an earlier flight than my original flight by about 4 hours. But because I was on the phone. I mean, I was literally had the phone in my hand when this happened. I did it within like probably 3 to 4 minutes of the alert coming through. And so I was the first person on the waiting list. And so by the time I got to, whatever, I got to the gate and got whatever, there's about 8 people on the waiting list, but I was number 1. Do you know how many people got off of that waiting list on that earlier flight? Any guess?
8? Oh,
just
1.
Me.
Fuck me.
Just me. So thankfully, and I was sweating bullets because I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm sure I would have figured it out. I would have had to go to a hotel and blah, blah, blah. But because I was fast enough to put myself on the waiting list, I did get on the plane. But they sweated me down to like 10 minutes. Even after booking it started, I didn't think I was going to get on the plane. And they said, we have room for 1. And they got me on.
It's sorry, keep going.
Oh no, it was just, oh my God, it was so nerve wracking. I mean, they just canceled the later flight just completely. Oh no, there's okay. When they say the reason is mechanical problems, I'm like, well, at least I wasn't on the plane. And it's like, we just lost engine number 2. Oh, there goes engine number 1. Kiss your butt goodbye.
Yeah.
It's
always an issue for me. Like I live like 280 kilometers from an airport. So
right.
if my car's parked at the airport, that's not a problem. But if somebody's picking me up at the airport, that's a huge problem if I can't catch my flight. Because they drove 2.5 hours to pick me up. Like that flight leaving Toronto, like, yeah, then your next flight is 7 a.m. I was like, oh, okay, but I've already got somebody literally in Edmonton right now waiting for me to get off a plane. They're not going to drive 2.5 hours back and then 2.5 hours back to pick me up and then 2.5 hours back home. You know what I mean? That's 5 hours of wasted time. And what? They're going to get a hotel. They're just going to, so I'm going to have to pay for a hotel now so that I can catch a later flight because you guys overbooked, because whatever fucking logic that makes. I don't get it. But luckily I got on the plane because it's always nerve wracking for me that I'm anticipating not getting on the plane, and then the person picking me up is like, well, I'm sort of fucked because I work at 9 tomorrow morning, so I can't pick you up now.
Right.
So what? I'm just trapped in Edmonton.
Fucking hitchhiking, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, I guess I can, make a sign that says I suck dick for a ride. It'll probably get me a ride a little bit quicker. I mean, the rules of the road, right?
Yeah.
If I can get a couple 100 miles down the road, I'll take a shot in the mouth.
Yeah. I honestly am a little leery about flying. I mean, it's just gotten so much worse. I mean, did you hear about all those people that got stranded? Was it around? I mean, this happens every year in the United States around Thanksgiving and Christmas time. All kinds of crap. People are getting cancellations and this and that. I mean, a lot of times, you're running into the whatever to make flights and everything else. It's such narrow windows because there's not a lot of leeway built into the system. I mean, it's like when you see a wreck on the highway and everybody stops to rubberneck. How long does it take for that kink to work back out of the highway? It takes hours, And I think right now we're still in the whole kink of them shutting the world down for a year.
Like, do you think people just didn't go back to work? Like all the people that were the security people and the flight attendants and the pilots and the luggage tarmac fucks, like, I mean, I only say that about the ones in Dublin, Ireland right now. I'm sure all the other ones around the world are fucking awesome. But like, did they just not have jobs anymore? Or did they just find a different job?
I think that there was so many job openings out there that they went to something else. You want me to get really conspiracy theory? I'll go way down the rabbit hole, because I think a lot of people have actually they're not going to be coming back to the workforce ever, but uh, due to either injuries or situations around, what happened and what occurred and what they were forced on. But there's also the problem with this, because airlines, much like the whole problem with nurses, is a lot of people quit because they did not want to have something put in their system that they did not agree with, and they were forced to. So a lot of people just quit, and they can't come back because, for example, in the United States, to work in a medical facility or certain health related facilities that take government money, because it's all tied to the federal.
Yeah.
If it takes government money, Medicare, whatever, they all have to have that. And if they don't, then they can't work there. And so, okay, well, I guess we just won't work there then. And so then they're like, well, why do we only have 60% staffing? Gee, Bob, I'm really not sure. But then here's the funny part. If they hire in a traveling nurse for triple the rates of their local hire, they don't have to be vaccinated.
Genius.
I don't know how that works exactly, but somehow it gets around it. I don't know how. So,
well, you don't make the rules, right? And the rules are meant to be
have
broken by the people who make the rules. So I'm pretty sure they make whatever rules help them out at the time.
exactly.
And those rules work just fine for them.
Oh, yes, they do. So for example, the medical field here in the United States is, I would say, within a bush hair of collapsing. If there's any kind of major medical emergency, the United States healthcare system is going to collapse, because all the people that were working, like, for example, when the pandemic first hit,
yeah,
and that were there and that were, oh, the essentials, and thank you for we support you. A third of them are gone. A third of them said, sorry, we're not doing this. We're not taking it. They left. They're gone. They're not coming back. But they can't come back. It's not that they might not want to. They didn't want to leave their jobs, but they were forced to.
See, now I find it weird because I don't have to wear a mask on any of those flights or in those airports. So you would, and I didn't have to show any proof of vaccination to anybody other than when I was flying on a Canadian carrier.
Right.
That's the only time I had to show any sort of proof at all. So you would think that those people could get their jobs back because they probably don't need to be vaccinated now that everybody traveling doesn't need to prove that they're vaccinated, right?
They still are under the mandatory thing that Biden pushed last year.
So that's the US, but
that's the US. I can't speak about, your fearless leader Trudeau. So
he is so awesome.
Oh my God, so awesome.
Yeah, he's so great. Just ask him.
Oh, I'm sure he'll tell you while he's skipping along, probably.
Yeah.
Does a twirl.
I just pictured the Queen dying and him in his room being like, oh, I get to be king now. Like not.
No, he's still queen.
But not understanding that's not how that works. You don't get to be in charge forever. I mean, fingers crossed he doesn't get to be in charge forever.
I was going to say, from what you've told me and how I understand your system, technically you could be elected in perpetuity. Perpetuity. Yeah. So let me see if I can English. Yeah. Do you speak it?
Good.
He could be elected in perpetuity because you don't have term limits.
I know. It's pretty stupid.
Yeah. You might want to see about voting the term limits in after this one finally gets out of the office,
but
if he ever does.
To get those kind of laws into place, the lawmakers get to decide what the new laws are going to be, and you better believe none of them want that law.
Oh no, just like nobody wants to vote term limits in here in the United States, which 80% of Americans are for. So
it's a crapshoot any way you look at it. It's like South Park said, douche, turd sandwich. Right?
Trudeau sandwich and douche, yes.
Yeah, you're voting for one of them, right? That's what it is.
That's right. So let's say, let's say we wrap this up a little bit about on the airline travel. I would say, comparing my travel before the pandemic to now, and when I say now, I mean right now. I would say it's probably pretty much the same. As far as the U.S. goes, I haven't traveled overseas. I haven't traveled. Well, hold on. You know what? I forgot I did have another flight that I forgot. I've flown 4 times since, man, a lot more than I thought. I went to Mexico. I forgot I went to
Oh
Mexico.
yeah.
And so I did go to Mexico in December of 2020. And when I flew out, I did have to wear a mask. And I somehow avoided, I didn't have to take a test. Like, see, Mexico didn't care. You could show up, whatever, they didn't care. No mask. Supposedly you're supposed to wear a mask down there, but nobody really paid attention. It's Mexico, right? Nothing against Mexico. I love the Mexican people and I love where I went in Mexico, but it's pretty lackadaisical on support of some things. And it wasn't until after I came back that they made it mandatory. You had to take a test before you get on the plane to come back. So I didn't have to do that. I did have a test when I came back, and I didn't get sick then either. I was perfectly fine.
We don't need to take tests either. Like we had.
You did have to.
Yeah, but I don't. Right? I don't have to now in Canada.
What happened? You said something you mentioned is that you get randomly.
Yeah, the
randomly
app.
chosen.
Yeah, the ArriveCan app can just tell you, hey, randomly chosen for quarantine.
Now, cool. Is this at any time or just when you're for flights? Like right now, you can just
on my flights.
Oh, okay. Just on the flight. So I didn't have to worry about that. And I haven't flown internationally, since then. But for the most part, except for the mask wearing for a couple of the times, it was pretty much comparable to beforehand. Just of course, except for all the people who were like super freaking out weird about it. I have not since day one been worried, stressed, or anything in any way, shape, or form over the last couple of years. And if anybody who's listening to this podcast doesn't like that, okay, that's on you. You worry about you, I worry about me. And I just never worried about it. I always just felt, whatever comes, it comes, and I think I can take it. And I took, and I can't say, hey, I was happy to get COVID that first time I got it, but you know what? I pulled through it and survived. It was tough. And I will say, at least as an adult, it was probably one of the toughest times I've been sick in since my teens.
That's how I feel about my herpes.
Yeah. And it comes back every once in a while.
Oh man, I get it so often. I should stop doing what I'm doing, but you know what? I love the taste of those big. Oh, sorry, what?
Oh, I was going to say you should try to get monkeypox.
Yeah, I'm sure it's coming. Trudeau will shut us down for something like that. My only concern overall was always, is the government going to shut my business? That's it. That was my concern. I didn't wear masks at the gas stations or the fucking grocery stores and stuff. People hey, you need to wear a mask. I'm like, no, I don't think so. You're not going to kick me out. And they didn't.
No, they want your money.
Well, but they don't care enough. Anyway.
Right. No, they didn't. But you were, also you were lucky. You did not, as far as your business goes, and correct me if I'm wrong. I am on the right track, but yours is all takeout business. You don't have a dine-in section.
No, we have a table that you can sit and wait for your food, but yeah, there's no dine-in. So I was just worried the next step, right?
Right. So you did pretty good because a lot of the restaurants I went to, some of them went completely out of business, but several of the ones that I like to go to eat at, I couldn't eat at for like a year, and it was just doing takeout only. But anyway, all in all, I think things are basically back to normal, except for a few, how shall I say it, tyrannical countries that are like still acting freaky.
Yeah. Man, as long as I travel outside of this country, I'm fine.
Yeah, as soon as you get out of your area.
Yeah.
So, well, I tell you what, that was a great discussion about the differences in airline travel. And, next time, let's hope that your luggage does not go missing.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're going to call that one an episode.
Sounds good to me. We'll be back next time with another fun and exciting topic.
All right. I'm going to say peace out, Knowitalls.
Peace out.